Hey guys, it's Allie with Cruise Blog. Today I'm going to be talking about the time I stayed on board a cruise ship while it was actually docked in port. As a veteran cruiser, this was something I had never done before, but now I see why it is the best kept secret. Let's get into it. One of the biggest reasons I prefer cruising over a land-based vacation is the unmatched convenience. Cruising makes it easy to see multiple countries, cities, and regions with ease. You can see so much in a shorter amount of time without needing to repack your suitcase or figure out logistics. For years, the idea of staying on the ship while in port never even crossed my mind. Why wouldn't I want to make the most of my time exploring new places? However, after sailing on more than 50 cruises, I have found myself often visiting the same ports of call. This is especially true when cruising to Mexico or the Caribbean, where most itineraries visit the same popular destinations like Cozumel or Nassau. If you cruise often like me, you might find yourself visiting the same ports of call time and time again. For some, this presents the perfect opportunity to enjoy the ship's amenities without battling the crowds. On my recent 4-night cruise aboard Utopia of the Seas, we visited 2 ports of call in the Bahamas, including Nassau and Royal Caribbean's private island, Perfect Day at CocoCay. I have visited Nassau more times than I can count, so my husband and I decided to stay on board and enjoy the ship instead. While I hadn't considered skipping a port before, I loved the low-key day on the ship more than I expected, and now I can see why veteran cruisers say it's the best kept secret, and here's why. First, it's a relaxing morning. Although cruising allows you to see multiple destinations during your time at sea, this can often lead to busy mornings and long days ashore. Most cruise ships are only docked in port during the day, typically from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This limits the time you have to explore the city or take a tour, as you must adhere to the ship's strict schedule. When you want to see as much as possible, though, during your time ashore, it's not uncommon to get off the ship as early as possible. For example, if your ship arrives at 8 a.m., you will probably want to get out of bed as early as 6:30 or 7 a.m. to get ready and have breakfast. Those taking excursions might need to meet even earlier depending on their tour. By opting to stay on the ship in port, we were able to enjoy a slower morning on Utopia of the Seas. There was nowhere to be for us, and that was such a relaxing feeling. Around 9 a.m., we decided to visit Johnny Rockets for complimentary breakfast. Normally, this restaurant is busy in the mornings as it's the only time you can dine here for free. Because most guests were already ashore, we were able to grab a table quickly and received hot coffee within minutes. In addition, you don't really have to worry about chair hogs. Following our lovely breakfast on the boardwalk, my husband and I decided to visit the adults-only solarium. This is my favorite place on board to relax while cruising, and Utopia of the Seas has one of the most expansive solariums I've ever seen. The multi-level oasis was located at the front of the ship, offering sweeping views of Nassau. We had stunning views of the turquoise ocean, which was the perfect backdrop for our afternoon relaxing session. While the solarium is typically busy with adults looking to escape the noise and commotion from the main pool deck, it was extremely quiet when we arrived at 11 a.m. We had no issue finding chairs in the solarium with views of the ocean, which was a welcomed change from battling the typical chair hogs. Because we were traveling with my parents, grandparents, and extended family, it was easy for us to all find a row of chairs together. During busier times, you might only be able to find 1 or 2 chairs together, and that makes it difficult to sit near each other. My grandma also uses a walker to get around too, so we appreciated being able to find chairs close to the entrance so that she didn't need to walk far. Another big advantage is having quick bar service. Another perk of staying on the ship while docked in port is having quicker access to the bars. With so many passengers sailing on the same ship, you might normally find a small congregation around the bars at any time. After finding chairs in the solarium, it didn't take long for one of the bar servers to take our order for a drink. I couldn't wait to have my favorite cruise drink, which is a coconut mojito. The bar server quickly brought my mojito directly to my chair in the solarium, so I didn't even need to lift a finger, and it was almost too easy. Other bars on the pool deck were quiet as well. The nearby View Bar, located right outside of the solarium, had a fully staffed bar with very few eager drinkers. You could walk right up, order a drink, and snag a prime seat overlooking the Bahamian coastline, which is something that would be nearly impossible to do during peak hours, but was a breeze while the ship was in port. And in this way, there are virtually no lines. By lunchtime, my husband and I decided to visit El Loco Fresh for a little snack. In my opinion, this is one of the best quick dining options that Royal Caribbean has on their newer ships. My husband had never tried El Loco Fresh before, so this seemed like the perfect opportunity. We ventured out of the solarium to visit a local fresh on the ship's aft. There were hardly any people dining, so we breezed through the buffet line and quickly found a shaded table. To accompany our fresh Mexican food, we also grabbed a drink at Cantina Fresca. There were only 2 other people at the bar during lunch, so it made it very easy for us to order and get our drinks right away. Many of the onboard thrills, like the zip line and the water slides, were also open during this time. With fewer passengers on board, this is the best way to try the most popular attractions without crowds. Some people were able to do the zip line multiple times because there was no one else in line, and the water slides were nearly empty as well. Staying on board while the ship is docked means you can take advantage of these exciting attractions without the usual crowds. If you wait until a sea day, you might find yourself spending more time in line. In addition, you can enjoy a quieter pool deck. Along with the onboard attractions, being able to utilize the ship's amenities without the usual crowds is a major advantage of staying on board while the ship is docked. Even with multiple pools and whirlpools available, they still tend to be busy with thousands of guests trying to use the same facilities. With only a few days on Utopia of the Seas, we looked forward to taking a dip in the pool and hopefully avoid the crowds. By this time, it was late afternoon and other passengers were already beginning to return to the ship from their day ashore in Nassau. The pool deck was slightly busier, but we could still find 2 in-pool loungers. Had we waited another hour or so, the pool would have been too busy for our liking. We enjoyed cooling off in the water for about an hour before eventually heading back to our cabin. If you're planning to enjoy the pool while staying on board, make sure you visit early in the day for a quieter environment. Another perk is that you don't need to worry about spending money. By staying on the ship while in port, I also noticed how much easier it was to avoid spending extra money. The cost of shore excursions, independent tours, and taxis can add up quickly, especially when you're visiting multiple ports of call during your itinerary. I also love to shop while traveling, so I find it is very easy for me to spend money when I'm ashore. Whether it's a souvenir, a specialty coffee, or a quick bite to eat, these little indulgences are all part of the travel experience for me. Additionally, we had already spent $179 to reserve access to the adults-only Hideaway Beach for our next stop at Perfect Day at CocoCay. Because of this, I was happy to stay on board the ship to enjoy the many top-of-the-line amenities that I had already paid for with my cruise fare. I didn't feel tempted to shop and spend extra money with so much already included. However, there are some downsides that you will want to consider. While staying on the ship can be relaxing and a crowd-free experience, there are a few downsides you'll want to think about too. Of course, staying on the ship means that you'll miss out on exploring the port of call. For instance, if you decide at the last minute to book an excursion, you might have limited options to choose from if you're planning to stay on board. Personally, I didn't really feel like I was missing out on anything in Nassau. Often regarded as one of the least appealing cruise ports by many travelers, it is far from my favorite destination. With only 4 days on board Utopia of the Seas, I would have felt like I was missing out more by not taking full advantage of everything that the ship has to offer. In addition, there were quite a few announcements throughout the day. Cruise ships often use port days for safety drills and exercises to minimize disruptions during sea days. By 9:30 a.m., the intercom was already blasting announcements across the ship. We were already awake, but others trying to sleep in would have struggled with all of the noise. Announcements continued throughout the day as the crew members practiced their emergency drills. Although this didn't disrupt my day, it could distract others who are looking to sleep in or take a nap. But in the end, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Many seasoned cruisers consider staying on board during port days as one of the best kept secrets. Despite having sailed on over 50 cruises, I had never chosen to stay on the ship while in port until my sailing on Utopia of the Seas. This felt like the perfect opportunity to try out this best kept secret. Being able to experience the ship's amenities without needing to fight the crowds was well worth it. Sailing on an Oasis class ship with thousands of other passengers means you'll find yourself waiting in line more often than not. Reservations for onboard thrills or experiences can be hard to come by during peak times as well. Our day on board was incredibly relaxing, and I felt like I made the most of my time by enjoying the amenities that I had already paid for with my cruise fare. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again, especially while docked at ports of call that I've already visited many times or ones that I don't particularly like. All right, everybody, that is all we have for today. Comment below if you're someone who likes to stay on board while your ship is docked, or are you somebody who always has to get off the ship no matter what? Thanks for tuning in today, everybody, and be sure and like and subscribe to Cruise Blogs so that you can be notified every time we have a new video. Until next time, this has been Allie, and happy cruising.